In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, people have developed the habit of being constantly accessible emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's become a badge of honor to always be available, to always respond immediately, to always say yes. But here's the truth that many refuse to accept. Constant availability is not a sign of value. It's a distraction from it. Being everywhere for everyone all the time doesn't make you indispensable. It makes you diluted. It stretches you so thin that you become ineffective. This is the illusion that traps so many people. They confuse presence with purpose and busyness with progress. Being constantly available often comes from a deep desire to be needed or affirmed. People crave validation. They want to be recognized. They want to be appreciated. So they respond to every message, attend every meeting, accept every favor, say yes to every demand, hoping that somewhere in all that activity, they will be seen as important. But the result is not admiration, it's exhaustion. The reward is not growth, it's depletion. And the people you try so hard to please, they begin to take your presence for granted. The more available you are, the less value is assigned to your time, your wisdom, your energy. This dynamic is visible in every area of life. In the workplace, the person who is always answering calls, jumping on last-minute tasks, staying late, and picking up what others avoid may seem like the go-to person. But when the time comes for promotions or strategic responsibilities, it is often the one who has clear boundaries, focused skills, and a reputation for delivering value, not availability, who is elevated. The same is true in relationships. Constant availability does not deepen connection. It breeds expectation. And over time, people begin to feel entitled to your time, not appreciative of it. Many people don't realize that by being always accessible, they actually lower their perceived value. Think about the things in life that are truly valuable: gold, diamonds, rare art, precious time. None of these things are easily available. Their value is tied to scarcity, to uniqueness, to purpose. You don't find them lying around everywhere. They are protected, refined, and intentionally presented. But we often treat ourselves the opposite way, always showing up, always saying yes, always rushing in, even when we have nothing meaningful to contribute in that moment. This makes us busy, but not impactful, present, but not powerful. There's a critical mindset shift that must take place. Understand that value is not created in constant exposure. It is developed in intentional growth. The most valuable contributions you will ever make will not come from being overextended. They will come from being focused. The world does not need more noise. It needs clarity. And clarity only comes when you are not scattered by constant demands. When you say yes to everything, you are unconsciously saying no to the things that matter. Every hour you give away without purpose is an hour you are not investing in mastery, rest, renewal, strategy, or alignment with your long-term vision. Every message you respond to out of guilt or obligation pulls your focus away from the very thing that could elevate your life to the next level. You must ask yourself hard questions. Am I doing this out of alignment or desperation? Am I being present because I am needed, or because I fear being forgotten? Is my presence building something or just filling space? Sometimes the fear of being left out, overlooked, or forgotten drives us to overcommit. But the truth is, people remember those who transform moments, not just those who attend them. People remember impact, not frequency. So you must shift from trying to be seen everywhere to striving to be felt somewhere. One place, one moment, one purpose with full intention and power. Availability is not bad in itself. It becomes a problem when it's unchecked, unfiltered, and unbound. You must begin to develop the discipline of selective presence. You must evaluate who gets your time, when, and why. Every yes must be filtered through your values, your calling, your energy, and your capacity. You are not responsible for being everyone's solution. You are not required to attend everything. You do not owe anyone constant access to you. Your greatest breakthroughs will come when you reclaim your focus and remove your addiction to availability. In fact, value is often formed in the moments when you are unavailable. When you step back to think, to create, to rest, to study, to realign, to innovate. Some of the most respected, sought after, and impactful individuals in any industry are not those who are always present. They are those who show up with power, purpose, and precision. They are not everywhere, they are impactful where they choose to be. Their time is intentional, their presence is strategic, and that's what makes them valuable. Too often, people operate from a place of reaction rather than vision. They react to texts, emails, calls, invitations, and problems, never taking the time to step back and ask, is this aligned with what I'm building? When you live like that, you live on other people's terms. Your life becomes a patchwork of other people's priorities. But when you move from reaction to vision, your time becomes sacred. Your availability becomes intentional, and your energy is no longer hijacked by the demands of others. It's important to understand that you teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you make yourself available at all times, you train people to expect you at all times. If you say yes without boundaries, people will assume your no is negotiable. You must rewire your behavior to reflect your worth. You must begin to show the world that your time has weight, your presence has purpose, and your contribution is meaningful. Not because you're always around, but because you bring value when you do arrive. In reality, this shift is less about others and more about you. It's a transformation of self-worth. When you truly believe in what you carry, you will protect it. You will nurture it, you will refine it before you present it. You won't rush to be everywhere because you'll know your worth is not in your visibility. It's in your effectiveness. This mindset doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you aware. And awareness is the beginning of wisdom. When you become conscious of how availability can be a silent thief of your growth, you begin to withdraw from anything that pulls you away from your power. You stop giving your best energy to things that do not multiply your value. You stop overextending just to be liked. You stop scattering your attention just to avoid guilt. And in that space, you start building real strength, real excellence, and real influence. You begin to live not by reaction, but by design. The world does not reward generalists in the long term. It rewards specialists who have taken the time to develop deep, uncommon mastery. Mastery is the cornerstone of personal value. When you commit to mastering something, you distinguish yourself. You rise above the average. You shift from being replaceable to being necessary. And when you become necessary, opportunities chase you. You no longer have to beg for them. In every industry, every organization, every community, the people who command respect, compensation, and recognition are those who bring exceptional value rooted in expertise, not just participation. Most people remain average not because they lack talent, but because they never develop discipline. Talent is not enough. Potential is not enough. The world is full of people who are talented but never committed to the process of mastery. They dabble in many things, but they never dominate anything. They touch everything, but they refine nothing. Mastery requires narrowing your focus, sharpening your skills, and committing to long-term excellence without shortcut. It is not something you stumble into. It is something you pursue with intention. True mastery begins when you stop chasing applause and start chasing improvement. It's easy to get caught up in what people think, in how many followers you have, how many likes you get, or how many people are watching. But mastery doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the hours of practice when no one is clapping. In the late nights and early mornings when you're sharpening your gift in silence. In the difficult, lonely moments when you're failing, adjusting, and pushing yourself past your comfort zone. This is where true value is formed. To become valuable, you must first make peace with being hidden. You must fall in love with the process. You must be willing to study when others are sleeping, train when others are talking, and prepare when others are performing. The difference between people who rise and people who remain stuck is the willingness to go deeper than everyone else. Shallow effort leads to shallow impact. But when you dig deep, when you specialize, when you refine, your value multiplies exponentially. The world will always have room for people who are excellent. Excellence is rare, and rarity increases worth. When you become excellent at what you do, people start to look for you. They start to speak your name in rooms you haven't even entered. You don't need to market yourself constantly when your results speak louder than your promotion. Mastery builds a reputation that travels beyond your presence. It creates influence that outlasts your visibility. You must begin to see your gift not as something casual, but as an asset. An asset must be cultivated, protected, and multiplied. If you are a speaker, don't just talk. Study the art of communication, voice control, emotional timing, audience psychology. If you are a leader, don't just delegate, master emotional intelligence, strategic vision, conflict resolution, team dynamics. If you are a designer, don't just create, study form, function, user experience, branding. Whatever your field, go beyond the surface. Study those who have succeeded, reverse. Engineer their greatness, and then exceed it with your own innovation. Mastery also requires feedback. You cannot improve in isolation. You must seek mentors, coaches, critics, and even your own failures. Every mistake is a teacher. Every critique is a mirror. Every challenge is a training ground. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment your growth stops. True masters are not arrogant, they are obsessed with learning. They are always students, no matter how high they rise. That humility is what keeps them evolving when others plateau. One of the greatest barriers to mastery is distraction. In a culture of instant gratification, people want quick wins and fast fame, but value is never built quickly. Value is forged in time. If you are constantly switching lanes, trying new things every week, and abandoning your path at the first sign of difficulty, you will never become great. Mastery requires a deep commitment to consistency. Not just doing the same thing over and over, but doing it better, smarter, and more creatively every time. Small improvements, repeated over time, lead to massive transformation. You must also realize that mastery is not just about what you do, but how you think. A master thinks in systems. A master anticipates problems before they arise. A master understands the principles behind the practice. This level of thinking doesn't come by accident. It comes by intentional study and applied wisdom. If you want to become truly valuable, upgrade your thinking. Read deeply, question assumptions, expose yourself to new ideas, and develop the mental frameworks that allow you to see what others miss. When your thinking changes, your performance follows. Another key component of mastery is intentional practice. It's not enough to simply put in time. You must put in the right kind of time. Repetition without reflection is wasted effort. Every time you practice, ask yourself, what am I improving? What can I do differently? Where did I fall short? This kind of practice is mentally demanding, but it is what separates amateurs from experts. The more you practice with purpose, the sharper your skills become. And the sharper your skills, the more valuable you become. Mastery also requires resilience. There will be moments when you feel stuck, moments when you fail publicly, moments when your efforts seem invisible. But these are not signs of failure. They are tests of commitment. Every master has walked through seasons of doubt. But they kept going, they stayed on the path, they didn't quit just because no one noticed. They didn't retreat because it was hard. They understood that temporary obscurity is the price of long-term influence. You must train yourself to see difficulty as development, to see rejection as redirection, to see repetition as refinement. The person who pushes through discouragement becomes the person who dominates the field. And once you dominate, your value is no longer questioned. It's expected. People trust you not because you talk, but because you deliver. They rely on you not because you're popular, but because you're proven. That is the power of mastery. Finally, understand that value is not just in what you know, but in how you solve problems. Mastery makes you a solution. You stop being someone who participates, and you become someone who transforms. And when you become a solution, you are always in demand. People don't hire resumes, they hire results. They don't promote potential, they promote performance. Your value is not measured by how available you are, but by how word to add to your invective. You are a tip of bio-changing outcomes. When you embrace mastery as your path, you stop competing, you stop comparing, you begin to operate from a place of identity, purpose, and depth. You're no longer just someone who shows up. You're someone who makes a difference, and that difference is what makes you truly valuable. A person's true value does not come from what they do. It flows from who they are. The problem most people face is not a lack of ability, but a distorted sense of identity. When you do not know who you are, you will settle for being what others expect. You will try to perform your way into acceptance and overextend yourself in the hope of being recognized. But until you have clarity of identity, you will always be chasing validation instead of cultivating value. Knowing your identity is the foundation of confidence, purpose, boundaries, and growth. Without it, you will remain in cycles of burnout, people pleasing, and unfulfilled potential. Many people tie their identity to titles, jobs, roles, or achievements. They say things like, I am a manager, I am an artist, I am a student, but those are functions, not identities. Functions change, titles shift, circumstances evolve. If your sense of worth is connected to a temporary label, then when that label is removed, your self-esteem collapses. This is why so many people feel lost when they lose a job, or when a relationship ends, or when a platform shrinks. Their value was never rooted in identity, it was rooted in activity. But activity must be driven by identity, not the other way around. True identity is not based on performance, position, or popularity. It is the unshakable understanding of your unique design, purpose, values, and capacity. It is the internal compass that guides your decisions even when no one is watching. When you are anchored in identity, you stop living by comparison. You no longer measure your value by who's ahead of you, who's behind you, or who's more visible. You become rooted in the truth that your worth is intrinsic, not circumstantial. And that truth gives you the power to stop being available for anything that diminishes your purpose. When identity is unclear, people become reactive instead of intentional. They say yes to things they should ignore. They pursue goals that do not align with their calling. They mimic others instead of cultivating their own voice. But identity brings clarity. It reveals what is for you and what is not. It teaches you that success is not about doing more. It's about doing what you were born to do, with excellence, focus, and intention. Identity strips away the pressure to conform, and instead releases you to create, to lead, and to build from authenticity. This clarity also shapes how you respond to adversity. When you know who you are, failure doesn't destroy you. It refines you. Criticism doesn't silence you. It strengthens you. Rejection doesn't derail you. It redirects you. But when identity is fragile, every obstacle feels like a personal attack. Every no feels like the end. Every closed door feels like rejection. But a strong sense of self allows you to interpret hardship as training rather than punishment. It reminds you that value is not lost in difficulty. It is often forged through it. You cannot cultivate identity in noise. You must spend time alone, time reflecting, time asking hard questions. What do I believe? What do I value? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? What breaks my heart? What brings me alive? Who am I becoming? Without these questions, you will build a life that may be impressive to others, but misaligned with your soul. Identity is not found in crowds. It is found in stillness, in studying your patterns, in facing your wounds, in confronting your fears, in remembering your design. The deeper you go into self-awareness, the more focused your life becomes. When you understand who you are, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who cannot perceive your value. You begin to choose environments that honor your essence. You protect your peace, your energy, your voice. You surround yourself with those who challenge you to grow, not those who demand you shrink. You stop explaining your decisions to people who don't understand your vision. Identity gives you the boldness to disappoint expectations in order to fulfill destiny. You also begin to recognize that your identity carries something unique. No one else thinks the way you think, feels the way you feel, or sees the world through your exact lens. Your life is a rare combination of insight, history, pain, experience, and gifting. And when you embrace that uniqueness instead of hiding it, you activate your true value. People are not drawn to copies, they are drawn to authenticity. And authenticity flows from identity. The more you embrace your distinct wiring, the more you become a magnet for purpose. Aligned opportunities. Identity is also the foundation of boundaries. When you know who you are, you know what you will not tolerate. You do not allow every voice access to your mind. You do not allow every opportunity to pull you off track. You understand that being valuable means being selective, that not every platform is for you, that not every offer is a blessing, that some invitations are distractions dressed in praise. Identity gives you the discernment to say no without guilt and yes without fear, because your direction is clear and your values are settled. It's important to realize that many people live beneath their potential simply because they have adopted false identities. They live with labels given by past pain, failure, culture, or criticism. They believe lies like I'm not good enough, I'm too late, I'm too much, I'll never succeed. And those beliefs silently dictate their behavior. But until you confront and replace those false narratives, you cannot access your true value. You must rewrite your internal story. You must declare new truths. You must shed identities that were never yours to carry, because you cannot walk in destiny while wearing someone else's name. Your identity also shapes your contribution. It determines how you serve, how you lead, how you create. When you operate from identity, your work becomes more than a job. It becomes an extension of who you are. You no longer chase opportunities, you attract assignments. You no longer work just for money, you work for meaning. And that alignment produces excellence. People can feel when something is built from authenticity. It carries weight. It carries truth. It carries impact. That is the fruit of knowing who you are. In the end, your greatest asset is not your resume, your network, or your credentials. It is your identity. It is your ability to remain grounded in who you are, even in a world that constantly tries to define you. It is your courage to be uncommon, to be consistent, to be real. And from that identity flows value, real, lasting, transformative value that cannot be bought, borrowed, or broken. It is this value that makes you not only memorable, but irreplaceable. Discipline is what separates those who merely dream from those who become valuable. While talent and passion may provide the initial spark, it is discipline that fuels the fire over time. It is not enough to have good intentions or high ambition. Without the structure and strength of discipline, greatness remains a distant possibility. Discipline turns raw potential into refined excellence. It transforms vision into execution. The individuals who become truly valuable in their field or to society are not always the most gifted, but they are certainly the most consistent. They are the ones who show up every day, who practice when no one is watching, who invest in growth even when it's not convenient. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about alignment. It is the conscious decision to live in a way that supports your purpose and protects your value. Without discipline, your time is wasted, your energy is scattered, and your focus is divided. With discipline, you begin to prioritize what matters most. You say no to distractions not because you are forced to, but because you have something greater you are building. When you understand the worth of your calling, discipline becomes a form of respect. It is how you honor your own future. You stop compromising for comfort and start choosing what will cultivate excellence. True discipline is internal, not enforced by others. It comes from a deep place of conviction, not from fear or pressure. It is the personal decision to become who you were created to be, even when no one applauds it. Discipline does not wait for motivation. It does not depend on how you feel. It shows up whether the conditions are ideal or not. Discipline teaches you to act in alignment with your values regardless of your emotional state. And this consistency over time is what compounds into unshakable value. The disciplined person lives by intention, not reaction. Instead of being pulled by every urge, every opportunity, or every demand, they design their days around their priorities. They understand the power of habit and routine. They know that what they do daily shapes what they become permanently, and so they guard their mornings, structure their time, set boundaries around their focus, and eliminate what does not contribute to their long-term growth. They are not busy, they are deliberate. They are not scattered, they are strategic. Their life is an expression of commitment, not chaos. Discipline also involves delayed gratification. Valuable people know how to wait. They understand that short-term sacrifice is often the cost of long-term success. While others seek instant rewards, they are building towards outcomes that endure. They pass up quick wins in favor of deep mastery. They resist the lure of popularity in favor of legacy. This ability to delay gratification is not weakness. It is power. It is the proof that someone is governed by vision, not impulse. And that kind of control creates extraordinary results. One of the most overlooked aspects of discipline is emotional discipline. To be valuable, you must learn to manage your internal world. You cannot allow your moods, fears, or doubts to dictate your actions. Emotional discipline means thinking before reacting, pausing before responding, and choosing purpose over ego. It means staying steady in conflict, focused under pressure, and humble in success. It is the strength to forgive when you want revenge, to persist when you feel discouraged, to listen when you'd rather defend yourself. Emotional maturity elevates your value in any environment, be it personal, professional, or public. Discipline also determines how you handle time. Time is the currency of value. Everyone gets 24 hours a day, but how those hours are used defines whether someone becomes exceptional or forgettable. People who lack discipline waste time on low-priority tasks, on unimportant conversations, on mindless distractions. But disciplined people invest time. They don't just fill their calendar, they fill their calendar with what matters. They schedule growth, They block out time to build. They eliminate activities that drain energy and create rhythms that support creativity. Because they understand that lost time is lost value. Discipline is also seen in how you manage your body, your health, your energy. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Your physical discipline, how you rest, how you move, how you nourish your body, directly affects your mental clarity and emotional resilience. Valuable people understand that their body is a vessel for their vision, and so they care for it intentionally. They create sleep habits, movement routines, and health practices that sustain them for the long journey. They don't chase success at the cost of burnout. They pursue sustainable performance through strategic self-care. Discipline requires saying no often. Not every opportunity is right for you. Not every door should be walked through. Not every collaboration serves your mission. The ability to say no clearly, firmly, and respectfully is one of the highest forms of discipline. It means you are clear about what deserves your time and what doesn't. It means you are focused on depth, not width. It means you are choosing what will multiply your value, not dilute it. Every yes to something outside your purpose is a no to something within it. Discipline guards your yes like a treasure. In a world driven by convenience, discipline makes you rare. Most people give up when it gets hard. Most people look for shortcuts. Most people want applause before they've produced anything of substance. But the disciplined person stays the course. They grind in silence. They improve when no one is watching. They remain faithful to the process even when it feels invisible. And because of that, their results speak louder than their words. They don't need to shout their value, it becomes evident through their fruit. Discipline is also the source of trust. People don't trust you just because of what you say. They trust you because of what you consistently do. When you are disciplined, people know they can count on you. You become reliable, dependable, credible, and that trust is what opens doors, builds influence, and cements your reputation. If you say you'll do something, and you do it every time, people will see you as rare. In a world full of broken promises and flaky commitments, your consistency becomes your superpower. To develop discipline, you must start small. You do not build a fortress overnight. You build it one brick at a time. One focused hour, one completed task, one kept promise. Over time, those small acts of discipline become a lifestyle. They create momentum. They shift your identity. You begin to see yourself not just as someone with potential, but as someone with power, someone with control, someone who can direct their life, not be dragged by it. That self-respect grows, and from that respect comes greater results. People often admire the results of the disciplined, but they do not see the daily decisions behind the scenes. The early mornings, the canceled distractions, the quiet hours of practice, the intentional conversations, the unwavering focus. That is where value is born, not in moments of fame, but in months and years of discipline, not in flashes of inspiration, but in sustained effort when no one else would continue. The ones who master this rhythm become impossible to ignore. They rise above the noise because they have paid a price most are unwilling to pay. And that price is called discipline. Many people spend their lives being available to everyone and everything, constantly responding to demands, distractions, and the desires of others, thinking that availability is the same as significance. But value is not found in constant accessibility. It is found in selective intentionality. The more available you are to everything, the less valuable you become to anything. The person who always says yes, who is always present but never focused, who attends to all but finishes little, becomes busy but not effective, visible but not impactful. In the pursuit of pleasing everyone and missing nothing, they dilute their power, fragment their attention, and diminish their purpose. To become truly valuable, you must be willing to disappoint some expectations. You must be prepared to let go of the illusion that being constantly reachable means you are being responsible. True responsibility is not about being everywhere. It's about being in the right place, doing the right thing with the right people for the right reasons. The ability to say no is not a rejection of others. It is a protection of what matters most. Until you develop the courage to be unavailable to the wrong things, you will never have the capacity to be fully present for the right things. Selectivity is not selfish. It is stewardship. The person who becomes valuable understands that energy is a finite resource. Every commitment, every interaction, every response requires a withdrawal from your emotional, mental, or physical account. If you are constantly withdrawing without ever depositing, eventually your energy will run dry. People who lack boundaries often find themselves exhausted, resentful, and uninspired, not because they lack potential, but because they've mismanaged access. Access must be earned, not assumed. Just because someone wants your time, attention, or presence does not mean they are entitled to it. Being valuable means recognizing the difference between obligation and alignment. When you reduce your availability, you increase your clarity. You begin to realize what truly deserves your energy. You recognize who supports your vision and who simply drains your momentum. You see which activities multiply your growth and which simply keep you busy. And in that awareness, you reclaim control of your life. You stop letting other people's emergencies become your daily agenda. You begin to design your schedule around impact, not around noise. And that design elevates your presence. People start to notice not just that you show up, but how you show up. Availability without discernment often leads to mediocrity. You cannot master your craft, build deep relationships, or lead with authority when your attention is scattered across dozens of meaningless interactions. Depth requires focus. Impact requires solitude. Excellence requires saying no far more often than yes. The myth that more activity equals more achievement is what keeps people stuck in cycles of burnout and stagnation. True effectiveness is measured by outcomes, not hours, by value created, not time spent. The one who understands this begins to prioritize solitude, concentration, and rest, not as luxuries, but as requirements for sustained success. You also have to understand that people treat you based on the standards you set. If you are always available, always accessible, always responding at the cost of your priorities, people will expect that from you and value you less because of it. You teach others how to treat your time. If you are indiscriminate with your energy, you attract chaos. If you are intentional with your focus, you attract clarity. Being valuable is not about being busy. It's about being purpose-driven. It's not about being known by many, but deeply effective in what you're called to do. That effectiveness is birthed in restraint, not in constant exposure. Many high performers, creatives, leaders, and visionaries elevate to new levels not because they added more to their life, but because they removed the distraction. They learned the sacred art of elimination. They stopped attending every meeting, answering every call, reacting to every message. They delegated, automated, protected their thinking time. They created space to dream, to reflect, to plan. And in that space, they became rare. In that space, their work evolved, their insights sharpened, their contribution deepened. What made them valuable was not their hustle, but their discipline in guarding what matters most. Unavailability also builds demand. When you are always present, always posting, always talking, always responding, your presence becomes ordinary. But when you withdraw to build, to sharpen, to evolve, your voice carries more weight. Your words are more thoughtful. Your appearance is more intentional. Value grows in scarcity. People pay more attention to what they don't always have access to. This does not mean isolating yourself out of arrogance. It means withdrawing strategically to increase your contribution. It means allowing silence to sharpen your message and solitude to refine your direction. The digital age has made availability seem like a virtue, but most of what is urgent is not important. Constant notifications, endless scrolling, reactive communication. These steal the moments meant for thinking, creating, healing, and resting. To become valuable, you must reclaim your time from the tyranny of distraction. Turn off what doesn't feed your future. Say no to what doesn't multiply your mission. Disconnect from what doesn't align with your identity. This isn't being difficult. It's being deliberate. This isn't being rude. It's being responsible for your own growth, peace, and purpose. Not everything deserves a response. Not every invitation is an opportunity. Not every voice deserves your attention. The discipline of availability is not about closing your life to the world, but about opening your life to the right parts of it. It's about making space for creativity, for deep work, for meaningful connection, for your health, for your inner world. It's about refusing to live on autopilot and choosing to move through life with strategy and focus. When you manage your availability, you elevate your influence. When you reduce noise, you enhance clarity. Becoming valuable requires understanding your unique assignment and designing your life to serve that assignment. You cannot give yourself fully to what you are called to if you are constantly available to everything else. That value is cultivated in the secret place, in the hours when no one is watching, in the quiet moments when you're not performing but practicing, when you're not impressing but improving, when you're not reacting but reflecting. That hidden work is what creates visible results. That discipline to step back is what allows you to step forward with greater authority and impact. People often ask how they can become more influential, more respected, more successful. The answer is not just in doing more. It is in doing less with greater intensity and purpose. It is in showing up where it matters and withdrawing where it doesn't. It is in protecting your time like treasure and using it to build something that outlives applause and noise. The most valuable individuals are not the most connected. They are the most focused. They are not everywhere. They are in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. And that kind of value cannot be faked. It must be forged through intentional living. Becoming valuable is not a result of being constantly accessible, universally agreeable, or endlessly occupied. It is the product of intentional self-mastery. It requires a transformation in mindset from passivity to purpose, from noise to focus, from availability to authority. True value comes when you understand your identity, recognize your purpose, and design your life around your calling with discipline and clarity. You rise by refining your uniqueness, deepening your contributions, protecting your priorities, and saying no to anything that distracts you from what matters most. When you stop chasing attention and start cultivating excellence, you move from simply being present to being powerful. In a world that rewards visibility, your value will be measured by the weight of your presence, not its frequency. Value is not in how much you do, but in how deeply what you do impacts others.